today's show, we're off to the races. These kids celebrate study with solar boats. Their story, the work and passion of a longtime teacher. If you happen along Minnesota Highway 210, be prepared to stop and be surprised. Bigfoot hides in the town of Vining. And a unique conservation comeback story, all about a fish as old as time.
Minnesota Bound, presented by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems.
Hi everybody, Bill, Millie and I welcome you to Minnesota Bound.
Today we are going to celebrate the boat building prowess of local teenagers.
Also, their middle school teacher.
Yeah, a guy by the name of Mr. Jans who proves there is no substitute for passion. If you ever question the passion of young Minnesota minds, swing by the lake. And look for the boats.
This is a solar boat regatta race.
Guys, get down there.
Schools create boats with solar panels to race them.
Up on plane.
All this excitement, enough to wear a kid out.
Noah, you got the wires connected?
To understand race day is to meet this teacher.
Make sense? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Welcome.
The guy with the nicknames.
Yeah, Jans would be what we call him for short. Mr. G. Bestie Jans.
Sometimes we call him Jancy.
Oh, we just like to say Mr. Jans.
My name is Brad Jans. I have been a technology and engineering teacher here at Orono Middle School for the last 29 years. How far will this reach? Shop from when we were kids. Back in 2008, started working with solar boats.
A weekly after-school class/club.
We're learning how to wire up a boat, electronics.
How to put together a boat and communicating with each other. We just love it down here.
Over the course of the school year,
Is the motor all hooked up?
the kids build solar-powered boats.
We learn a lot of skills about how to work with other people and how to cut stuff.
A place of passion.
Wires?
Mr. Jan's Solar Boat Club.
He's just really funny and he just makes us laugh every day.
Guide them through that mix and through that uniqueness is the challenge of my 35-year career.
Which leads back to the lake
So you're going out.
and the end of the school year,
Let's go!
where Minnesota solar boats finally float. Well, most anyhow.
Solomon, you gotta make sure that you're going full speed when you hit those yellow buoys.
He's grown it over, a series of 18, 20 years. But it's really who he is.
Which is why so many students and so many people
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
snap pictures with Mr. Jans. After a 30-year classroom career, today, that ship sails.
This is my last run.
It is Brad's last solar boat regatta.
At some point, I just need to hang up my boat and move on to other pastures.
A moment not lost on his students.
At least I got to have them. Some kids won't get to have them.
That they can express that's huge. Wow.
He wears his heart on his sleeve. That's who he is. That's part of his charm. It's one of the reasons I love him so dearly. That's one of the reasons kids are drawn to him.
Because Orono's Solar Boat Club tends to be so successful, both on race day and more importantly in school, where a few of Mr. Jan's students go off to college earning scholarships. All this really not so much about boats or even the trophies, rather a connection much more electric.
A lot of fun.
I know I'm impacting kids, but as a teacher, you never know how you're impacting them.
Oh, on this day, that is clear.
Thank you. He raises good humans, whether they're his children or whether they're his students.
The learning is an important piece, but the friendships, I'm sure with that crew, I'm going to be a lifelong friend. That's why I do what I do.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Connecticut Water Treatment Systems, Star Bank, Rapid Marine Family of Dealerships, and by Busch Light.
Do you know your water score? When it comes to your home's water, we know you may have questions. Whether it's city or well, find out what's in your water with the free water analysis. Treat yourself to cleaner, softer laundry, spotless dishes, and worry-free drinking water when you upgrade to Connecticut, the world's most efficient water treatment system, and save up to 25% during our Spring Into Savings sale. Visit us online at Connecticut.com to find a dealer near you. Life is better with Connecticut Water.
The Bush Guide, cold and smooth survival skills. If you encounter one wolf, chances are there's a pack nearby. Fortunately, the same applies to beer. Head for the mountains of Bush.
Nothing beats memories made on the water. Time to make your own. Start now with a visit to Rapid Marine's family of dealerships, your ultimate resource for Lund boats. Rapid Marine sells more Lund boats than any other dealership in the country. Depend on inventory and expertise and the best service around. A great selection of pre-owned boats too. Visit Rapid Marine's 4 locations or check us out online at rapidmarine.com.
Ron here. Just thinking about fishing, thinking about why Star Bank is our bank at Ranchera Productions. You see, Star Bank is family owned, therefore you are treated like family. Call Star Bank, a person answers. Walk into Star Bank, they know your name. Star Bank is growing, now 11 locations in Minnesota. The latest is in Hancock and Stevens County. Yeah, Star Bank makes you feel good in many ways, just like a fish on the end of my line. Oh yeah.
Member FDIC. The Bush Guide, cold and smooth survival skills. In unpredictable conditions, pack layers, both for your body and your beer. Bush. Head for the mountains.
A retired construction worker used his artistic skills to create the most unusual collection of sculptures. As Ron Scherer reports, it's a place called Nyberg Park.
In the small town of Vining, Minnesota, home to about 60 folks, there may not be much to do, but there's a whole bunch of things to see and to be amazed, or impressed, or puzzled. And all sculptures made of metal, each an artistic work, as someone once said, of imagination unplugged. It's all here to gawk and stare at in a place called Nyberg Park. The park entry is free and located on the edge of town alongside Highway 210. It's right next to the Bigfoot gas and grocery store. Bigfoot? Oh yeah, there's a really Bigfoot in town. Which raises the question, why are these fascinating sculptures in tiny Vining, Minnesota? The answer is because Ken Nyberg lives here.
I'll probably have 150 hours or more in that too.
Now in his late 80s, Nyberg, a retired construction worker, is the artistic mind and creator of every sculpture.
I built the football and the hand separately.
His hobby began more than 30 years ago, first decorating his yard with his scrap metal artwork.
So my question, where do all these ideas come from?
Most of them might show up at night, I think.
Really?
A few have been like this candlestick phone. My wife insisted that I make one of those.
Most people wouldn't know what that is anymore.
No, most of them never seen one, unless they've been to a museum.
Exactly. So, were you a big-time Africa guy? I mean, you got a rhinoceros here?
No, I wasn't. I don't know how all this come about. Just craziness, I guess.
The sculptures around his workshop reveal an unusual appetite for creativity. Yet, nothing explains his idea to weld a giant, well, Bigfoot.
Was that one of your first ones?
The Bigfoot was the first big one that I did.
Really?
Yeah. I had, prior to that, I had made a couple things as a joke.
His Bigfoot joke took 30 months to complete.
I had no really good idea what I was going to do with it when I was making it. But once I got pretty close to done, then people found out, and then more people were looking at it, and then they started talking about putting it uptown.
And the ride isn't over. Many of his sculptures feature his clever use of discarded lawnmower blades, each individually bent and shaped to fit his vision.
This spring I decided to add them up, and I did, and it was just a little over 8,000. I think 26 over or something.
At Nyberg Park, junk metal and junk lawnmower blades turn into a tourist attraction, only in Vining. One sculpture, the square knot, looks simple, but it wasn't.
That square knot was probably one of the tougher ones, just simply because I had to come up from two places and cross over properly and make it look the same from both directions.
Why bother with a square knot? I mean, why put yourself through that misery of trying to figure it out?
Well, you got to have some challenges in life, you know.
Challenges run in the Nyberg family. One of the newest sculptures in the park features an astronaut. It's a tribute to another famous Vining resident, Nyberg's daughter, Karen, who grew up in Vining and later became a NASA astronaut who's traveled twice to the International Space Station in 2008 and 2013.
This is when she went on the shuttle in '08.
When she was up in outer space, how did her dad feel?
Not as nervous as I thought I would be.
You have to be very proud.
When you count the number of people that have been astronauts and the amount of people in the world, there's not much comparison there.
Like folks say, yeah, not much interesting goes on in tiny Vining, Minnesota.
Still ahead, we go below the surface of the water to fish up the story of this critter.
Closed captioning provided by Flow Docks and Lifts.
Flow aluminum dock systems are made to bring time at the lake to a whole new level. You can create any layout you want and accessorize it for comfort and fun. They're strong, stable, safe, and they add a beautiful touch to your shoreline that will last for a very long time. Maybe it's time to join the thousands of other families that have turned their dock into a shoreline paradise. Maybe it's time for a Flow.
Some folks may not know that Lake Sturgeon were brought back to Minnesota by removing some historic river dams. Once those dams were removed, the sturgeon did the rest. Ron Shera has the story.
Long ago, there was this fish swimming in a few Minnesota rivers, Lake Sturgeon, large but not especially handsome, and not as revered by anglers as, well, walleyes are. Yet this fish is unique in another way. The lake sturgeon is considered to be a living dinosaur, a native fish swimming around 150 million years ago. The Ojibwe had a name, King of Fish.
Lake sturgeon can grow anywhere from 6 to 8 feet. They can be over 100 pounds, and they can live, the females, up to about 150 years is about max age.
Lake sturgeon were abundant in the late 1800s in Minnesota and valuable commercially. Sturgeon produced caviar, oil, and meat, plus body parts used for cosmetics, paints, and even breweries. By early 1900s, millions of pounds of sturgeon were harvested and nobody counted. By 1930, the fish was nearly extinct, last seen in Minnesota's Upper Red River Basin. Nobody seemed to notice.
Why should you care about sturgeon? You know, sturgeon are one of these iconic species of the Great Lakes states. So that fish has been here pretty much since the beginning.
The lake sturgeon were further doomed by the construction of dams in Minnesota's rivers, dams used for industrial purposes, hydropower. But the dams also halted spawning runs for sturgeon and many other fish species. Typically, this could be Lake sturgeon's end of story. However, as Bob Dylan wrote, the times, they are a-changing.
Well, it's about 30 years of work by the DNR, our partners with Red Lake, White Earth, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to bring that species back from extinction locally. So that's a restocking program. But we also needed to think about why did they go extinct in the first place? And that was basically 3 principal factors. Number 1 was water pollution and loss of habitat, loss of connectivity in the river system, so the ability of fish to get to critical habitat, and then overfishing of the fragmented riverscape itself.
In the mid-1990s, DNR began the task of removing the river dams no longer needed.
We identified right around 70 barriers in the Red River Basin that were critical blockages to fish migration. So to date, we have removed or modified 48 of those dams in the Red River Basin.
By 2022, the Red River of the North was free of dams, and the magic began. Lake sturgeon were restocked in various rivers.
Well, Ron, for the first time in about 125 years, we observed lake sturgeon spawning. So we've gone from a species being locally extinct all the way back to trying to have natural reproduction. And that's a remarkable story.
And the story doesn't end there. Sport fishing for these river giants has boomed.
We have a statewide catch and release season that applies to places like the Red River of the North. You have to be very careful in lake sturgeon management because typically those populations can only take 3 to 5% exploitation on a given year. Now this has to do with the very slow pace of lake sturgeon reproduction. It takes a female lake sturgeon 20 to 25 years to become sexually mature. Now thereafter, because of the way their ovulation cycle works, that female will reproduce only once every 3 to 5 years.
Nevertheless, the good news is lake sturgeon are back and here to stay. It's also good for Nicholas Clute.
So as a kid, I grew up around creeks and rivers in western North Dakota, fell in love with fish. I was extremely fortunate to end up in Minnesota. You just have phenomenal fishery resources. I get to help work on a living dinosaurs restoration while also bringing more fish and better fishing into small towns' backyards. That's the stuff of dreams if you're a fish biologist.
Now with lake sturgeon, a dream come true.
Still ahead, we celebrate the life of wildlife photographer Jim Brandenburg.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Rapala, Premier Marine, and by Totem Resorts.
No matter how you do water, there's a Premier pontoon for you. Because Premier pontoons are the best riding, best built, and have the best technology in the industry, with countless floor plans to choose from and exclusive award-winning innovations like Revolution seating and Troll and Stow. So whether you're looking for your first pontoon or your next, look to Premier.
In April, Minnesota lost one of its most storied outdoor photographers.
Jim Brandenburg captured some of our state's most iconic wildlife photographs.
Ron Shera long ago shared Jim's story.
From Wolf World at Ravenwood, Jim invited us to his Twin Cities workshop. It's here that he can develop, select, and publish his photographs. He relived the exhilarating experience of how he captured one of his most famous photos, the white wolf.
He went up on the top of this iceberg and sat there and looked at me as I tried to sneak up to him to get closer and closer, and I'm sure he was looking at me and thinking, "Are you foolish, man? You know you can't sneak up to me." And it still remains one of my favorite pictures, not because of the quality of the image, it's the experience that I remember.
Don't tell me that as soon as you snapped this, he got up and moved.
Basically, yes.
Really?
Yes.
So you had how long to take that picture?
I probably had 5 minutes, and I shot close to 6 rolls of film.
Really?
And I was changing the film with bare hands. I froze the ends of my fingers, and the viewfinder fogged up. And
it was worth it, I think.
Oh, it's one of those war stories, you know.
While Brandenburg is critically acclaimed for his wolf photographs, he exposed his newest development, a future book on the American prairie.
Most people think of me as a wolf person, but really my heart is in the prairie.
Really?
That's where I grew up, and this is a potential cover for the next book. The prairie was the biggest ecosystem. Now we probably have less of it in the pure sense than we had, of course, back then.
It seems to me you're trying to deliver a message.
Quietly. People don't like to be preached to. I like to come in the back door.
Yeah.
See, I'm really excited about this subject, and I can't believe more people aren't. You know?
Well, maybe they haven't seen it like you've seen it, yeah? Brandenburg's career began at the Worthington Globe, a local newspaper in Worthington, Minnesota. His work was noticed. Eventually, he headed off for the National Geographic magazine. Today, he's recognized worldwide as one of the all-time great wildlife photographers. And he offers this tip on improving your own wildlife photos.
Get to know the animals, get to know the land, and get up in the morning. Get up really early, sunrise. Early in the day, late in the day, the light is prettier, the animals are out, and there's no one there to scare the animals away. The whole country belongs to you.
The wolf peeking through the trees, always one of my favorites and so iconic.
We actually used to winter camp on one of the secret lakes where he used to shack up and try to get his photographs.
Very cool. Well, that about does it for us. We hope to see you back here next week.
In the meantime, Millie, what do we always say? Remember to introduce a kid to the great outdoors. You'll get it.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433.